Hi, I'm Dr. Elliot Adam, and welcome to my tarot channel. It is time for this month's tarot reading for every astrological sign for December 2023. I'm going to begin with Aries and end with Pisces. And if you want an even more accurate reading, you might also want to listen to the message for your astrological moon sign and rising sign as well. There's these convenient little timestamps at the bottom of your screen, of which you can quickly get to the relevant information that you're looking for. So without further ado, let's go into the Tarotscope message for every astrological sign for December 2023. First, let's start with the astrological sign of Aries. So if you're an Aries or have a lot of Aries in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best to place your focus for December 2023. And we get the Hierophant card. And this is a card of faith. It is a card of having faith in yourself and believing in what it is you're trying to accomplish, but it's also a card of really doing something in a ritualized way. If you're looking for success, Aries, this might be a month where you're really starting to put forward a ritual towards success. It might be affirmations of success, a shift in your thinking, a bigger belief in yourself, but it also could be a card of just consistent hard work toward your goal. The Hierophant is telling you that many things can be unlocked for you if you set your mind to them, but you need to be consistent in order to be successful with that thing. This card can also just indicate that it is time to put some structure into your life right now, something that's really going to facilitate the goal that you're trying to reach. The advice from your inner wisdom, if you're an Aries for this next month, is another major arcana card, which is next door to the Hierophant, the Emperor card. And this is the quintessential Aries card. You can see the rams decorating the Emperor's throne. And this means that he's going for it. Both the Hierophant and the Emperor are archetypes of going out into the world, exerting your will, and also being confident or bold towards your next step. The Emperor is telling you fortune will favor the bold. And again, much like the Hierophant, the Emperor is all about structure. And so this might be a time for you, Aries, where the goal is in sight, but you do need structure to get there. It might also be a month where you're being more self-disciplined and you're really adhering to something that you've set up as a system for your future success. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Taurus. So if you're a Taurus or have a lot of Taurus in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best to place your focus for December. And we get the Four of Wands. And this is a card that shows a party happening on it. It's a card of celebration, enjoyment, and just enjoying the people and situations that are around you at this time. This is also a social card. It is a relationship card, so it does have to do with connecting, but in a very lighthearted way. It's not like a really intense love card. It's one more of enjoying the company that you're keeping. And finally, this card could just say it's time to enjoy yourself a bit more, enjoy the holiday that's coming, or even just to free yourself from something that's restrictive by putting yourself in an environment where you're starting to feel supported, especially socially speaking. The Four of Wands is telling you to let your hair down. The advice from your inner wisdom, if you're a Taurus for this next month, is the Three of Swords. And I think that when we see a card of suffering like the Three of Swords next to a joyful card like the Four of Wands, this could be a time where you're really acknowledging something that might have been hurtful, something that might be painful, and yet still choosing to give yourself joy. The Three of Swords shows a heart that would be floating above the rain clouds, light and free, and rejoining the sun, if it weren't for those three swords that were stuck in it. And the swords can represent past trauma or pain, something that's keeping the energy down, and that's weighing you down. The Three of Swords tells you that it's time to release the swords that the heart might have accumulated. And it sounds counterintuitive, why is the heart holding on to swords? And the reason is that swords represent power. And sometimes when we hang on to old narratives that are painful, difficult, and we just keep rehashing them in our head, we somehow think that that gives us power or that we're going to be ready for the next hurtful thing. And yet, I feel like this is a time to start to release some of those things that are making your heart heavy. When we see that Four of Wands next to the Three of Swords, it might be a time to try again and to put yourself in new environments where there's hope for joy again. It's time to let go of all that's impeding your ascendancy into the sunlight. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Gemini for your message for December. And the first card for Gemini is where it's best for you to place your focus this next month. And we get the Five of Swords. This card can represent feeling overwhelmed or having scattered energy. The Five of Swords can also just acknowledge that this is going to be a time for you, Gemini, where you're really juggling a lot of different things at the same time. And yet it will feel really defeating if you're trying to do everything all at once to the top of your abilities. It might be a time to really prioritize, to get clear on what's important. And then maybe those extra things that you're stressing out about that aren't really supporting you, it's time to release some of those things. I find that the Five of Swords will come up when it's time to prioritize your time and your energy level toward the thing that really matters at this time. You might be able to pick up those extra things that you've left on the wayside later on when you're clearer in your mind. But for right now, Five of Swords is saying you're needing to get your thoughts clear and you're really needing to regain your focus once again. The next card is going to be advice from your inner wisdom if you're a Gemini, which might give you a little help as to how to do that. And we got the King of Wands. For me, the King of Wands is the wise counselor of the tarot. So he could be somebody that is an archetype of consulting with someone who's got the answers. It might be a time with that Five of Swords to stop trying to solve all the problems all by yourself, Gemini, and instead consult someone who's an expert, someone who can help you kind of organize your thinking and come up with a plan to overcome the challenges at hand. But the other meaning for the King of Wands for me is that he's the self-made king. He's the survivor. He has the lizard by his throne, which can take the heat. It doesn't allow its emotions to get too hot or too cold. If the lizard's too hot, he goes under a rock to cool off. And if he's too cold, he goes into the sunlight again. And same with you, Gemini. It's important that you're really moderating your energy this next month and you're pacing yourself. You also need to know that you're competent and that you can survive the challenges at hand if you stay focused on the end goal. If you're feeling like you're overwhelmed by a problem, it might also be a time to reach out to a trusted advisor or counselor. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Cancer. So if you're a Cancer or have a lot of Cancer in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best to place your focus for December. And we got the Strength card. And the woman on the Strength card is taming the lion below her, which is a symbol for the things in life that feel out of control at this time. And for everybody, the lion is different. For some people, it's their fear, their anxiety. For some people, it's their anger, their resentments. And yet the woman on the card in the white gown, symbolizing your higher self, is taming that lion. She's reining that energy in. And she's not abusing the lion or beating it up. She's gently closing its jaws so that it doesn't consume her. This might be a month for you, Cancer, where you're confronting what you're afraid of and you're taming it. You're reining in that energy and you're exerting some self-control. Strength can also indicate that this is a great month for you to come up with a month plan for how you're going to tame the thing that feels unruly in your life. And the way to do that is by daily making choices that make you stronger, not weaker. So this might be a time when you're really acknowledging different things that you're trying to implement in your life to get it back on track. And instead of expecting it all in one day, the Strength card is telling you to exercise this thing that you're trying to control, sort of like a muscle. And over time and with consistency, you'll become stronger too. Next is going to be advice from your inner wisdom if you're a Cancer for December. And we got kind of an opposite archetype here in the Eight of Swords. It's another 8, just like the Strength card. But here we see a woman who's disempowered. She's been abandoned. She's sad. She's feeling lost or hopeless. She's turning inward. And she's feeling like she's sort of hoping, wishing, and waiting for some hero to come in and sweep her away from all her problems, but nobody's coming. And yet, even though she's tied with these ropes, and even though her situation looks bleak, she's literally next to these 8 swords. They're inches away from her. All she'd have to do is rub those bindings against those swords, and she could be free whenever she wants to. What the 8 of Swords can symbolize is a fear or some sort of disempowering emotion that's keeping you caught in destructive passivity. And when we see that Strength card, that archetype right next to the Eight of Swords card, a card of empowerment next to the disempowered one, I feel like Cancer, you really have a choice for how you're going to be approaching your challenges this next month. You can be the woman on the Strength card, or you can be the woman on the Eight of Swords. Whatever archetype you give your attention to is going to get stronger. And so it's important for you to realize that you do have the power to shift the perspective, but you might need to get out of your head and out of your feelings and really focus on a proactive solution. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Leo. So if you're a Leo or have a lot of Leo in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best for you to place your focus for December. And you got the Hangman card, Leo. And the Hangman is temporarily suspending things so that he can hang upside down from the branches of the tree of wisdom and gain a new perspective. This is a card of self-sacrifice. And the Hangman is telling you the wisdom of making certain sacrifices right now for your own long-term goals. This is not a card of foraging ahead and trying to push for something. Instead, it's a card of stopping and looking at your current situation from that different perspective. As the Hangman hangs upside down, all the energy is pooling to his head and it's starting to glow. And what this can indicate that this is a time for you, Leo, where you're really stopping, you're really being mindful, and you're acknowledging what sacrifices that you're making right now and how they're going to benefit you in the long term. It might also be a time to stop suffering with something that you're shaking your fist at and so frustrated by, and instead look at it as a thing that's trying to teach you something at this time. There's wisdom in your current situation. And although it may not feel comfortable right now to be suspended, it is going to be a time that is rewarding for you. And there's great wisdom being offered in the current lesson. The advice from your inner wisdom, if you're a Leo for this next month of December, is the Nine of Swords. And this is a card of worst case scenario thinking. The Nine of Swords can often represent our inner saboteur. It's that voice in our ear that's making us feel scared or stuck or disempowered in some way. And yet it's also a card of isolating. I feel, Leo, that the best antidote to the Nine of Swords is sunlight. It's bringing light to the situation. The figure on the Nine of Swords is in isolation. His mind has been overthrown by his own shadow thinking. And this might be a time with that Hangman card to suspend the negative thinking, the cycle you're kind of on, and instead reach out for that support or that help. Sometimes acknowledging the feeling that's choking you from behind or speaking about it with an understanding, sympathetic ear will do so much to help release you from its grips. And so I feel like December for you, Leo, is a month of great healing. However, you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to go toward the thing that is continually stressing yourself out, trying to be Superman or Superwoman. Instead, like that wise Hangman, you're needing to suspend. You're needing to look at the challenge from a different perspective. And you're also needing to ask for support when needed. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Virgo. So if you're a Virgo or have a lot of Virgo in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best for you to place your focus for December. And we got the Two of Wands, which for me is a card of ambition. It shows a lord of a manor. He's got a great castle with battlements and a view all the way to the ocean. And yet, even this isn't satisfying him. He's holding the globe in his hand. It's like he wants the world. And what this card can indicate that this is a month where it's time to acknowledge maybe in your life where you're settling, where you're not aspiring to more, and instead really looking at where it's time to grow, what you could reach for. The Two of Wands is also a card of healthy ambition. It could be a time to start setting some goals for yourself or looking ahead to the new year. Maybe some of the goals that you're having aren't going to be accomplished in this next month of December. Maybe you're needing to start to plot a course for something a bit more far off. But Two of Wands is saying that it is time to reach for higher. The only challenge with the Two of Wands that I can think of is that sometimes this card is insatiable. It's like no matter how much you get or how much you push or how much you work, it still doesn't seem like it's enough. And so sometimes this card can tell you that if you're in that constant hamster wheel of reaching for something that's off in the future, it might be a time to stop and breathe and acknowledge where you're at right now. You can still aspire for more, but you might also need to validate what you've accomplished already. Next is going to be advice from your inner wisdom for Virgo for December. And we get the Judgment card, which is a card of rebirth, renewal, and reawakening. The angel on the Judgment card blows the trumpet, and all the dead rise out of the grave again. This is a card of resurrection and reawakening. And so if you've been sleepwalking through life or accepting things that are subpar and just not changing them, Judgment is telling you to be alert or aware to the power that you have in this present moment. There is great power that comes from being awake and aware of what's happening around you. And I think that if you are feeling stuck, this might be a time to just pay attention to the part of your own spirit that's waking up. The dead rising out of the grave is a symbol for the dead parts of yourself that are resurrecting, that are becoming reborn or renewed at this time. And I think it's important for you to validate that part of you that is awakening. And before I get on to the next astrological sign, because it is December, I just want you all to know that I do have gift certificates available for one-on-one readings at elliotoracle.com. And I also have signed copies available of my two empowering tarot books, Fearless Tarot and Tarot in Love. I pick a card for each recipient and write a personalized message in there for you. So if that is something that interests you, do check that out at elliotoracle.com. And on we go to the next astrological sign. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Libra. So if you're a Libra or have a lot of Libra in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best for you to place your focus for December. And we get the Lovers card, which is such an appropriate Libra card, the sign that's associated with partnerships and cooperation. The Lovers is saying that this is a great month for you to express your love for others, to forge partnerships, to connect, and also to share the burdens of something that you might have been struggling with. But beyond just lovey-dovey love or a great relationship card, the Lovers is more important to me. It's a powerful symbol that shows 3 archetypes on it. And these 3 archetypes are aspects of yourself. There's the male looking to the female who's looking to the angel. The male can represent your rational self, your worldly self, the part of you that sets goals out in the external world and tries to accomplish them. And yet on his own, he isn't powerful enough. He's looking to the female on the card. And she represents your emotions, your feelings, your authentic self. And it's not enough to just get stuck in feelings either. She, in turn, is looking to the angel on the card, which represents your higher consciousness, your higher self, your spirit. And all 3 of these aspects of yourself need to be brought into balance and work with one another. So this might be a month as well, Libra, where you're really looking at where the imbalance is taking place in your own head or in your own heart, and you're restoring it. It might be a time to bring these disparate parts of yourself back into harmony. And so if one aspect of your consciousness is feeling neglected, the Lovers card is telling you to bring them back into balance. The next card for Libra is going to be advice from your inner wisdom for this next month. And we got the Ten of Swords reversed. And when the Ten of Swords comes up reversed, it can indicate that you've just gone through it. There's been this major challenging time. You've been spread so thin. You might have had to deal with difficult endings or difficult choices. Things that you were avoiding and not wanting to acknowledge did catch up with you, and the storm has hit. And yet, when this card comes up reversed, the golden skies are now at the base of the card. The sunlight is starting to peek through. And I feel like this is a time for you, Libra, where those old, disparate things that were causing such challenge for you are starting to break up. And with that Lovers card as well, it might be a time to check within and to create balance within you again. The Ten of Swords reversed is saying that the thing has already happened. The challenges have already happened. And now it's time to pick up the pieces. It might be also a time to acknowledge the rites of passage that you didn't necessarily choose or want to go through, but that nonetheless have happened, and to see the lesson in them. It's time to bring yourself back into balance. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Scorpio. So if you're a Scorpio or have a lot of Scorpio in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best for you to place your focus for December. And we get the Empress card. And for me, the Empress always makes me smile. She makes me feel better. She is the archetype of the great goddess. She's Mother Nature. And she tells you that everything has its season, everything has its time, and everything in the garden of your life is growing in its appropriate timing. She wears the crown of 12 stars, which gives her perspective. She can see things from the distance of the stars. And the Empress is telling you as well that it's an important time for you to nurture yourself. The Empress is the mother archetype of the tarot, so she can sometimes indicate that there's concerns on your own mother or within mothering other people. But it also might be a time where you are nurturing yourself. You're mothering the part of yourself that feels like it's been neglected up until this point. I think with the Empress, she's just telling you that things are going to come into fruition there in their appropriate times. And so the main thing with this card for you is to stop worrying so much. The advice from your inner wisdom, if you're a Scorpio for this next month, is the Five of Cups, which is the worry card, appropriately enough. It's also a card of looking at your losses instead of gains, looking at the imperfect and blinding yourself to the things that are actually working. The card shows a figure who's in a trance. He's looking at the 3 spilled cups, and he's gloomy, and he's like, isn't that sad? The cups are spilled. There's been loss, and he's just stuck in that mindset. And yet he's not acknowledging the 2 cups that are standing behind him. And what this indicates is that although you may have experienced some loss or challenges, all is not lost. And with that Empress card coupled with that 5 of Cups, there's good news on the way. So I just feel like it's time to be patient, take a breath, acknowledge the things that are making you sad for sure, but don't get stuck in a trance on them. It's time to pivot to where there's hope and where you're actually seeing things working in your life. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Sagittarius. So if you're a Sagittarius or have a lot of Sag in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best for you to place your focus for December. And we got the 7 of Pentacles, which represents the number one word everyone hates to hear in a tarot reading, which is patience. The 7 of Pentacles governs works in progress. The harvest isn't ready yet. It's not time to cash in your chips. There's seeds that have been planted and they're growing in the right direction, but you may not be seeing the rewards for them yet. 7 of Pentacles is telling you to have an eye on the long game and to be patient with things that are still in their growing process. This is also a card of tenacity and not giving up on the thing that you're trying to grow. It's time to give yourself nurturing and also to be patient with the part of your life that just feels incomplete or not quite there yet. And instead, have an eye toward the long game because the harvest will come eventually. The advice from your inner wisdom, if you're a Sagittarius for this next month of December, is the High Priestess card. And the High Priestess governs your intuition, your instincts, and your inner knowing. She's that infallible compass that guides you out of feeling lost. And what she's telling you is to trust your instincts. And people, they confuse their instincts with their feelings. People are told, look within, the answer is there. And the first thing that they see when they look within is a big fear waiting there or something that makes them uncomfortable. But the realm of the High Priestess is far beyond the fear. She's deeper in the mist. She's in a clear place. She's avoiding the feelings. She's more in the area of your consciousness that's clear, empowered, and ready to act. And so this might be a time to tune inward for sure, but to go deeper than your greatest fears, especially about something that's still a work in progress. It's still growing in your life. The High Priestess is reassuring you that as long as you keep trusting your instincts, it's going to lead you towards your best destiny. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Capricorn. So if you're a Capricorn or have a lot of Capricorn in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best for you to place your focus for December. And we got the 3 of Pentacles, which for me is a card of refining a skill, a talent, but it's also a card of learning. And I just feel for you, Capricorn, that this is a great month to research your goals. What is it that you're trying to plan to do? This might also be a time to gather data, gather information toward what's going to work in your life. And it's also a card of collaboration. We see the monks in the monastery are collaborating with the craftsmen. handing him the set of plans, of which on are drawn the exact thing the craftsman is building. So this might be a month for you, Capricorn, to draw up a plan for your own life and to do the necessary research to make that plan a reality. The advice from your inner wisdom, if you're a Capricorn for this next month, is the Five of Wands, which shows conflict and competition on it. You see these 5 adolescents that are all trying to prove who's got the biggest stick. It can represent an environment that is not always harmonious, and yet you're needing to rise above the conflict and not get into the mud. It's very interesting. We see the 5 of Wands, which shows conflict, everybody at it for their own interest, next to that cooperative card of the 3 of Pentacles. I think this next month, although you might be engaged in a very competitive field, or it might be in a competitive arena, there might be different opposing viewpoints that you're needing to balance against your own. I think collaboration is going to be the better way to go. It might also be a time with that 3 of Pentacles to research or learn what the perspectives are of those competing interests and to really understand them from their perspective so that you're empowered to act in the best possible way. And before we get into the next sign, if you've been enjoying my tarot content on YouTube or you've been finding it useful and don't miss an episode, please do consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate all of your support, and it's been amazing to see how this community has grown in the past months. So thank you very much for that. It really does help so much for the channel to get out there to others. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Aquarius. So if you're an Aquarius or have a lot of Aquarius in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best for you to place your focus for December. And we got the 10 of Pentacles, which is a card of stability, long-term security, family, but also legacy. And this might be a month, Aquarius, where you're really becoming conscious of what is your legacy? What is it that you're trying to build over the long term? The 10 of Pentacles, like all successful Pentacles cards, governs success eventually, but it also requires a time investment, and it's a very practical card. And I've said this before about Aquarius, but they're a future-leaning sign. They're constantly having visions of their future. They're constantly seeing where they're gonna be, what they want to do eventually. They set trends. They start thinking of things before anyone else does. And yet with that 10 of Pentacles, this is a card of plotting, methodical, hard work that goes into achieving that goal. And so right now, Aquarius, don't get frustrated at what you're seeing as taking time. You might be feeling like, I see myself as successful. I see myself as what I want to be. How come I'm not looking like that right now? And the answer is because you're looking at the future again. And the 10 of Pentacles is telling you to get grounded in the present. The advice from your inner wisdom, if you're Aquarius for this next month, is Justice, who is very logical and rational and balanced. Lady Justice is seated between 2 gray pillars, the color of neutrality. And so this might be a time when you're assessing your own life, Aquarius, in a very neutral way. You're not getting too activated about what you're seeing. This is a very cerebral card as well. It's also a card of telling yourself the truth with what's happening right now. So I just feel for Aquarius, this is a time to be clear, to have your eyes wide open, and to acknowledge what's a work in progress in your own life and be okay with that. It's also a time to not allow passions to run too hot, but instead to have a dispassionate manner. Justice is telling you that the truth and the balance that you're seeking are going to set you free when you have a calm mind. And finally, let's go into the astrological sign of Pisces. So if you're a Pisces or have a lot of Pisces in your chart, this first card is going to be where it's best for you to place your focus for December. And we get the Queen of Pentacles, who's seated in her garden that isn't fully in bloom yet. And she's focused on the coin in her lap. And this means that she's focused on what she's trying to manifest, what she's bringing into the real world. And she's patient, she's calm with this process of growth. She has a lot in common with the Empress card from the Major Arcana. And yet there's that little rabbit in the corner of the card that's hidden. The rabbit can represent anxiety, nervous energy, worries about the future. And yet the Queen doesn't pay that rabbit any sort of mind. She just stays focused on the coin in her lap. What is it she's trying to manifest? What is it she's trying to do? Same for you, Pisces, this next month. You're really onto something. You're focusing towards some personal empowerment and you're getting things straight in your life. And yet that anxiety is just going on in the background of your mind, trying to distract you. And like the Queen of Pentacles, you just need to stay focused on the goal. You almost want to just know that the anxiety's in the garden. The queen isn't driving the rabbit out. But instead of giving it the soapbox and listening to it instead of what's practical right now, you almost want to just visualize that your anxiety is talking in the background of your head, but it's down the hall in the last room with the doors shut. It's kind of muffled. And it's instead time to return your attention toward what you are trying to grow. The advice from your inner wisdom for this next month, if you're a Pisces, is the Three of Wands reversed. And sometimes this card can represent feeling overwhelmed by the future that's yawning before you, not really knowing where to start or what to do. Three of Wands reversed could also just indicate that there's some scattered thinking right now. And again, the advice of the Queen of Pentacles can be so useful at this time. It's time to really focus on what's practical right now, what you're tangibly seeing, instead of believing what you're feeling or wanting to see. That Queen of Pentacles is telling you to look at what actually is happening. And especially with dealing with relationships with others right now, it's important you don't trust what people are saying, but instead you're acknowledging what they're doing. That is going to be so much more powerful because actions speak louder than words. And that is this month's Tarotscope for every astrological sign. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click the thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel. Please also share this with a friend if you find it useful. If you're looking for more great tarot insight, go to my website, elliotoracle.com. Look up a tarot card on Google. Just type in Three of Cups, Elliot, and you will get a description there that's going to be based on personal empowerment instead of fear, doom, and gloom. I really do appreciate all of your support, and I hope for all of you that do celebrate holidays that you have a really great one this next month. So do take care, and we will be doing something probably a little more special for our New Year's reading for January 2024, so do stay tuned.